Shaney, ready, rock and roll?
Ready. Let's go.
Super excited to be coming today. I'm here with Jay Cannone, real estate agent in Trumbull. Mr. Trumbull. We get the postcards all the time. Super excited to talk a little bit about your business, where you came from, how you got started, a little about the family, and where you're headed from here.
Well, it's great to be here. I appreciate it, Cannone.
We've, over the last few months, built a really good friendship.
We have.
I don't know how we connected, but, I grew up with Cross, went to the, same middle school growing up, and always knew of the kids. But it's been fun. We've had a lot of laughs, done some good business together recently, so it's been good.
We have. I've really admired what you guys are doing, too, and that was something that attracted me to you guys is the way you're doing your business. I really admire it.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Definitely.
We always...
Doing a great job.
Thank you. We're trying to pour into the people that support us, too. Anything we do to give value. So
it's awesome.
It's been fun. This is our first podcast, by the way, so...
Yeah.
This is like the shebang. This is the big blow-off.
It's a great setup.
Yeah,
All right, tremendous, tremendous.
So we're going to dive in and start with really how you got started in the business. I'd love to know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give us maybe a little history and then how you got into it.
That's awesome. We're going to go back a few years now. Okay. We're going to go back to, I started real estate full-time in October of 1984. After I graduated high school, I went to college in Boston at Northeastern University for 1 year. And, every time I'd call home, I'd talk to my dad, who was in the real estate business. My dad owned a very large real estate company here. We had about 20 offices. Mm-hmm. And every time I'd call home, and I'm sitting there studying my math and my history, every time I call home, my dad would be opening up another office or going to another vacation or buying another Ferrari. And I'm sitting there in college going, what am I doing here? I got to get back into the family business, So I did that. After 1 year, I left college and I wanted to get into the real estate business full time. So my dad put me into the Milford office. Mm-hmm. That's where I started, was in the Milford office. And his philosophy was that my my mom and dad really wanted me to finish college. Mm. And their philosophy was, let Jay get into the real estate business, and after about 6 months, he'll be begging to get back to college and party. Yeah. He'll be begging us to get back. Well, it didn't work out that way because after my first year in business, I sold about 49 houses.
Oh my God!
My first year. So they said, well,
college didn't work out.
I guess he's not going back.
That is great.
I guess he's not going back. So
49 houses year one.
My first year, and I was 19 years old.
How the hell did you do that? How'd you do 49 homes?
I used my age to my advantage because I was a young kid.
Yep.
And I tried to explain to people that I was going to try. I wanted this business to be my livelihood, and this was going to be my career. And I was going to work extra hard to prove to them that I was going to do a great job.
Yeah.
But see, my dad always had this very old school mentality, and that's something that I'll have with me for the rest of my life. And my dad was very old school. My father was always like, Jay, be the first guy in the office every morning. Get into the office at 7 o'clock in the morning and call all the expired listings, call the for sale by owners, and just start cold calling. But always be the first one in the office in the morning. So, and I made a habit of doing that. I was in the office every day, bright and early. I was always the first one in the office. I was cold calling. I was calling the expired listings in the morning, and I did that for quite a while. For many years, I did business that way. I call that the old way of doing business.
So, how many hours were you putting in a day? You're getting in 6:37 every day.
So my typical day, Gaetano, was like in the morning. I'd be there at 6:37 a.m.
Yep. And
I would call all the expired listings. And back then, we had newspapers. Real newspapers. Yeah. I'd actually go through the newspaper, and there was a wealth of information in the newspaper.
Yeah.
I was finding out people that were, birth announcements, and I was calling the people to congratulate them about having a baby. And now that they've got another, baby in the house, maybe they need a bigger house. Or people that had job promotions, I was congratulating them on their job promotion. And now that they're making more money, maybe they wanted to get a nicer house.
That was all in the newspaper back in the day.
Everything was in the newspaper. Engagements, people that were getting married. I was calling people that were getting married and congratulating them and asking them, where they're going to be living.
Yep.
What else did I do? Oh, God. People that were renting apartments, I'd call people that were renting apartments and ask them, if they weren't thinking about, maybe they'd think about selling rather than renting.
Yeah. So, or buying a home versus renting, continue to rent. Yeah,
exactly.
That is awesome.
Why rent when you can own,
Can we say that one more time? I just love that. I love that every time. Why rent when you can own?
That's it.
Unbelievable.
What's funny about that, too, is that my dad, in 1988 or 89, when my dad left the big company, we opened up our firm. My father had never thought about that slogan ever. And, we were doing a big back page ad, to kick off the company. And I said to my dad, I go, hey, Pop, why don't we, put the slogan, why rent when you Cannone at the back of it? My father's like, what? I was like, what, you never thought of that, Pop, He's like, no. So we did that. We put why rent when you Cannone on the back page of the newspaper.
Do you get that a lot when you're out in public? Do people bring that up?
A lot. Yeah, I hear it a lot.
That is phenomenal.
I hear it a lot. Yeah. So getting back to what then at noontime I'd grab lunch, and then all of a sudden after lunch I'd go and knock on doors.
Yeah.
For like maybe 3 or 4 hours. I would just go to a random neighborhood and just knock on doors, handing out my business card and just asking people, if not themselves, maybe would they happen to know of somebody contemplating a move, if not now, in the near future.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'd get back to the office and I'd cold call until 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
But I was very fortunate. I was fortunate because I had a guy by the name of John Cavalier, who was my office manager.
Yep.
And I don't think without John Cavalier, I'd even be here right now, to be perfectly honest with you, because maybe, I don't know if it was because I was the boss's son, but, at the end of the day, I always have a notepad full of leads. And John would go with me on all of my appointments for a while. And I would sit there and I would listen to John, and he would do all the talking and I would do all the listening, and we'd get a lot of listings that way. And, as time went on, I would do maybe half the talking, or John would do half the talking, and then I would do half the talking. And as time went on, I eventually did all the talking, and John would listen. But I don't think without John's mentorship, I'd even be here right now, to be honest with you.
That is awesome.
He was a tremendous mentor, and probably one of the greatest true salespersons I've ever met in my life. And I've met a lot of them in my life.
Wow.
Amazing man. Yeah. I was lucky to have him.
He worked with you and your dad?
He's
the office manager?
He was the office manager, yeah.
Phenomenal.
And he still is a very, very dear friend of mine.
Oh, no way.
Oh, no doubt.
Is he still in the business?
He is.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
Okay.
He's a wonderful guy.
So the old way of doing business was a lot of cold calling.
It was just
door knocking.
Nose to the grindstone.
Sales.
Nose to the grindstone.
Direct sales, outreach, and just like pounding the pavement.
Exactly, Cannone.
There was a big shift.
But the thing about that, the thing about the old way of doing business is that your income fluctuates too, because you're busy trying to get busy.
Yeah.
You're making those calls, you're knocking on those doors, and then all of a sudden, you get so busy with all your appointments and things that you kind of let up on doing those things that got you busy.
Yep.
So now your income is kind of doing this too.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to get busy, you're busy, and now all of a sudden you're back down here again, and you're back up here. So it was a very fluctuating in your income.
Yep.
And I got married. I met my wife, Stephanie, when I was, we were in 8th grade. We were holding hands in 8th grade in Hillcrest Middle School. I met her when we were 14 years old. And we married when we were 26. We got married when we were 26. And
Stephanie's here, by the way. So that's why we looked over. Yeah.
She's over there. That was good, huh? Good. Hey?
That's awesome. So you guys been together for a long time.
Real long time, since we were 14.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Has Stephanie ever been in the business with you?
A little bit. She had a real estate license, and she would come with me on some appointments.
Awesome.
Yeah. She's good.
Future assistant position, possibly?
There's a possibility of that.
Don't get your hopes up. Yeah.
Possibility.
Okay, awesome. So you went from sales.
Yes, I did.
Walk us through the shift of going from sales in the new way of business.
That's interesting. So I was working in 1996. I left and I went to work with William Ravis Real Estate.
Yeah.
I left my dad. My dad and I were, when we had the big company and we were working in 2 separate offices, there was no problem. But when we got into the same office, my dad had the old school mentality of doing business, and I had kind of a new way of mentality of doing business.
Yep.
And there was a lot of clashing. And I said, Pop, listen, I'll see you on Sunday for dinner, but I don't think it's working out here.
Yeah.
So I ended up leaving the company. I went to work with William Ravis.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I opened up my own firm for a very short time, for about 8 months.
Yep.
I went to Milford because I thought it was far enough away where I wasn't competing with my father.
Yeah.
But not that far away where I couldn't do business in my area.
Mm-hmm.
But probably about maybe 8 or 9 months into my own business, I was recruited into Ravis Real Estate, and they ended up buying my little company out. And so I've been with Ravis since 1996.
Awesome.
So I'm in the office, and I noticed that one of the realtors there had a logo.
Mm-hmm.
And I really admired his logo. I thought it was really cool. I've never seen an agent with a logo before. So he told me that he actually really wouldn't give me much information, to be honest with you, about any of his marketing materials. So I went to the office manager, and the office manager told me where he got it, and he told me that he got it from a company named Hobbs Herder, which was the largest real estate / marketing company in the world at the time. Mm. And I called Hobbs Herder, and they were hosting a one-day event in New York. So my wife and I think it was probably around the year 1999, my wife and I went to New York, and we sat in this one-day seminar. And it was all about, like, marketing is attracting, and selling is convincing.
Yep.
And I wanted to attract business. I wanted people to come to me. I wanted to learn how to become a brand.
Yep.
How do I phrase it? It was kind of like if you go into a grocery store and you're looking for fruit, and you're looking for oranges, for example, but you always come out with that orange that has the sticker that says Sunkissed on it, because it's a brand. It's something you recognize and and you'll pay more for it, and because it's a brand that you recognize.
Yeah. So
anyway, I went to the Hobbs Herder seminar that day, and I ended up buying into their program. I mean, I literally.
How much did it cost?
It was thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. It was almost like $15,000 or $25,000.
Oh my gosh! Back in 1990.
Yeah, it was literally.
Did you have the money?
On my credit cards. On my credit cards.
Yep.
Yeah, so I went for it. I mean, it was literally taking the old way of doing business and kind of just trashing it and just completely getting into marketing and branding and advertising.
How much business were you doing before you went to the event a year? Because
I was doing about $6 million in volume.
Okay.
Back then. And that was decent, but what happened was after I picked up all these new marketing materials, and, the Hobbs Herder gave you the program to work from. They told you exactly what to do and how to utilize all the materials and what to mail and how to mail it and what to say. So my income, go ahead.
Really quick, what was the actual material? Was it direct mail? What did they teach you?
Well, they would give me a personal brochure. So what they did was they sent me a 40-page questionnaire.
Oh my God.
And in this 40-page questionnaire was, be like from the day you were born to that day. Literally, they wanted to know everything about my life.
Yeah.
And then once the writer got a hold of that questionnaire, he created what was my personal brochure. And then from that, they created my brand, my slogan. So I got a personal brochure out of it. I've got a logo. I had postcards. And I had what I called the house flyer, which was like a piece of paper, and I got a website, and everything had the same look, the same feel. But to me, to them and to me, when they asked me all about my life, at the end of the day, it was all about family. I didn't have any other hobbies. I went to the gym every now and then, but I really didn't have anything that I was doing other than just work and spend time with my family.
Yep.
I didn't golf. I didn't do anything like that.
Yeah.
I had no hobbies. I was a workaholic is what I was. So they created my campaign around the family, because that's what I was all about.
That is awesome. So you've probably connected with a ton of people that receive your brochure. You've built a brand based off family. In the work, probably not as much, but being a family man, and then people come to recognize you by getting your mail in every month, and they just see Jay all the time.
Correct. It wasn't a get rich quick program at all. It wasn't just like, send out a mass mailing and then all of a sudden start getting the calls. And as a matter of fact, I was on the verge of bankruptcy. So I started doing business the new way. I started, advertising in the newspapers, running ads, custom ads. I started doing a lot of mail outs and stuff. And
so you follow this program. So first you buy it, you follow it to a T, and it's not working right away.
Correct. They even offered a 100% satisfaction guarantee or my money or their money back, my money back.
Oh, so there's no reason not to sign up for it.
Agreed.
So you sign up, but it's not. How long does it take to start working?
10 months into the program, I was not seeing any results whatsoever. Nothing. And as a matter of fact, I was on a conference call with about, a bunch of agents from all over the country that were involved in the program as well. Yeah. And everybody was talking about how great they were doing. They're like, oh my God, business is booming. It's unbelievable. And I'm sitting there and I'm like listening to these people. I'm like, and here I am, I'm on the verge of bankruptcy. And I'm like, guys, listen, I got another story to tell you. So I went ahead and I explained to these folks that I've been doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing for 10 months. And I was on the verge of bankruptcy. And Don Hobbs, it was called Hobbs Herder. So Don Hobbs goes, hey, Jay, he goes, you're telling me that you're doing exactly what you said, or what we said to do, He goes, and it sounds like you're a perfect candidate for our money back guarantee.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I said, yeah. He goes, but so what I did say to him is that, the only thing that kept me in the game back then was, like, for example, I'd go to a grocery store and I'd be in line to check out. and I'd have a cart full of groceries, and all of a sudden I would, get a tap on my shoulder from a perfect stranger, and the man would say to me, "You're Jay Cannone." And I'd say, "Yeah." And they're like, I get your mail and I see your ads. I mean, you're doing a tremendous job. Beautiful postcards you send. And, I'm just, oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate the kind words. Thank you very much. And, as I'm pushing my groceries out of the grocery store, I'm wondering if my check would even clear for the groceries that I just wrote. I mean, it was that bad. But I would say about 2 months after that, almost a year into the program, because Don said to stick it out a couple of months more. He thought it was going to start working. And sure enough, it did. It was like the faucets were turned on. And my business I started receiving phone calls from people just telling me to come on over and list their homes. And I would go over to people's houses and they would answer the front door with my postcard in their hand. And they were like, "Listen, man, anybody who sends me postcards like this 3 times a month for the last 10, 11 months, that's the kind of guy I want working for me. So where do I sign?" It was just like, "Come list me" calls.
Unreal.
Yeah, it was amazing.
You went from pounding pavement, direct sales, like pushing people, trying to get business, to now just consistently sending these out. And now people are calling you just ready to roll. They already know who you are.
Correct. I mean, it wasn't just the postcards. I was also running newspaper advertisements. I was also, I had a website going. I want to say, in a way, I was kind of like the pioneer in personal marketing and personal branding in this particular area back in those days, because nobody was really doing what I was doing. And I was also attracting a lot of the higher end houses too, because people that, they wanted special marketing for their homes, and that was something that I was giving them, was special marketing. So I thought I was appealing to the higher priced homes and the higher priced neighborhoods. So it was good. So my business, like I told you, I was doing $6 million, and I crashed down to $2 million in volume, waiting for those 12 months to go by.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, that particular year, my volume went up to $15 million.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a new world. It really was. It was a new world.
His name was Don Hobson?
Don Hobbs.
Don Hobbs.
The name of their company was Hobbs Herder. Don Hobbs and Greg Herder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you call Don up and let him know, hey, it's working?
It's funny because I was at a seminar in Virginia.
Yep.
They had a 3-day gateway seminar.
Yeah.
And it was all about their systems and how to utilize them and customer service. No, it was a tremendous system. And I remember being in the buffet line, and Greg Herder from Hobbs Herder was standing right in front of me in the buffet line, and I kind of tapped him on his shoulder. I said, "Hey, Greg," I said, "my name is Jay Cannone. I'm from Connecticut." I said, I bought into your program about a year ago, and I was literally on the verge of bankruptcy, but my business went from $2 million to $15 million, and, business is booming now. And he looked at me like I had 3 heads on my shoulder. And he was just like, "What?" It was kind of cool. So
it actually works. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we go back into the seminar.
Chair malfunction?
A little bit.
You're getting so excited to tell this part of the story.
We go back into the seminar, and Greg Herder takes the stage, and he goes, "Where's Jake? I want to speak with Jake. Can Jake?" And I knew he was calling me out.
Yeah.
And I kind of raised my hand. It was like maybe 500,000 people in the room. And I raised my hand. I go, "Jay." My name's Jay. So he's like, "Get him the microphone. I want to get." So they give me the microphone. He's like, "Can you please tell everybody what you were telling me in the buffet line?"
Yeah.
So I told them the story about how I was on the verge of bankruptcy, and I went from $2 million to $15 million using their systems. I literally became a poster boy for that company overnight, because that's what they wanted to hear. And it worked really well. I mean, it changed my life completely. I mean, even my wife became nicer to me. She started to get nicer to me too. I'm making more money.
All of a sudden,
she's like, "That was great."
Loves Jay. Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah. Not only did you get the marketing, you got therapy too, all built into one.
Unbelievable. But
so overnight, you speak, you tell everybody, you become the poster boy.
Yeah.
And what happens next with the company? Like with you as the poster boy?
With me as the poster boy. So now they start.
What does that entail?
Well, what they did was for example, we'd go into a gateway seminar, and they would have like full length posters of me standing there. Full length. Full posters of me. Mm-hmm. They would, kiosks. That was all over their kiosks in the room. They would have a big screen, and I would be interviewed, and they would interview me and play it all over the country for all of their gateways. Even if I wasn't there, they would interview me, and they would play it at all their gateway seminars. They also featured me, I want to say 11 times in the National Realtor Association magazine. 11 times I was featured. As a matter of fact, here's one of the 11 ads.
Shane, I just pulled up the ad, but I'm going to throw this on the main camera just to show. So, Jay, this is you.
That's me. Yeah, that was me in 2003, 20 years ago. And they called the photographer down from New York. They put me over on Sasco Beach with my Corvette and took some cool pictures. And I was featured 11 times in the Realtor magazine. It was pretty cool.
That is a sweet picture. We're going to post that afterwards because that is so funny. It's literally Jay sprawled out on a Corvette. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
On Sasco Beach. Unreal.
It was great, man.
So as that happens, what happens after that? Were you able to like connect with more agents? Did it help your business being the poster boy? What would you say from that point on?
It helped of course, it helped my business tremendously because
your brand was built.
I went from the old way of doing business to the new way of doing business.
Mm-hmm.
The old way was, the old cold calling, door knocking, and the new way was now marketing.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
One thing I always thought your slogan was why rent when you can own.
Right.
But that wasn't your slogan.
No.
I want to hear a little bit about that and what the thought process was there too, because I was surprised when you told me.
Well, again, when they took that 40-page questionnaire, they created my slogan, and that was called the Tradition of Excellence. That's what my slogan was, a tradition of excellence. Because of my lifetime in real estate. I mean, literally, my dad was taking me on negotiations when I was in a stroller.
Oh my gosh.
I grew up in this business my entire life. So, and they thought that Why Rent Cannone was a cool slogan, but they thought it was just apropos how you say it. Just my name was Cannone, of course, so it just made sense. But it was corny. It didn't really mean anything to them. But everybody knew me as Why Rent When You Cannone.
Oh my gosh!
We'd even go on a golf course, or my dad would be on a golf. Now coming up to the tee is Why Rent When You Cannone. It was like everybody knew me as Why Rent.
Which is a former Mill River.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Mill River. Yeah.
What a place!
It's great.
I can only imagine the jokes and the laughs around that. One thing that I thought was so interesting was you've always been an entrepreneur and really hustling to make things happen. I would love to hear, because you've had a lot of opportunities to maybe go from being a broker to buying property to developing.
Yes.
But you turned it down and decided you wanted to focus on brokerage.
Yep.
Do you have any thoughts on that? Any stories where your head was at the time?
I do, because like I said, back in the days, I would have a lot of opportunities to invest in real estate.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, I went and I opened up an office in Oxford.
This is when you were still at Elmer.
Correct.
Yep.
This was 1980.
So we're gonna go back in time.
Back a little bit.
So your dad started in real estate. He was making a ton of money back in the day.
Right.
And back in the day, you told me real estate brokerages were making 6% commission every time.
And they were on a 50-50 split with their agents.
50-50 split with their agents.
Correct.
What was the business like when you came in 1984, fresh out of college? What was it like? What was your dad doing? What was the lifestyle? How big was the company?
There were no computers. There were no cell phones. The company was, I think we had like 6 or 7 offices back then in 1984. Like I said, like Stephanie was just mentioning, my dad, he was working at Avco, Textron Lycoming, when I was born. And we lived in an apartment down on Boston Avenue by the old GE. That's where I was born. And, and all of a sudden we kind of upscaled. So my father ended up getting laid off from Avco, and then he ended up getting a real estate license. And back then you didn't have to take a test for a license. You would just go in, sign some papers, and they would give you a real estate license. And he went to work for a company called George Brown Real Estate in Stratford for about a year. And then after about a year, he ended up hooking up with this guy named Elmer Craw, who had just opened up a company in 1959. And my father eventually became a partner with Elmer. And when my dad joined Elmer Craw, there was 1 office and 4 salespeople. And then my father ended up branching off and opening up their second office in Trumbull. And they created Elmer Craw Real Estate of Trumbull Incorporated, where my father was a 49% owner of that company.
So you joined the business. When you joined, you said it was how many offices?
It was about
6 or 7?
Back then, 1984. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then they started to expand. We got 3 offices in Bridgeport, and we were all over the place.
Oh my gosh. So you go from 49 houses sold year 1. Didn't you open up your own office too with them?
I did. I went in 1987. I went to Oxford and opened up my own office in Oxford.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And it went really well. I mean, after I was about halfway through halfway through my first year, I was a co-manager of that office. He ended up leaving. That manager left. My co-manager left, and he took half my office with him.
Yep.
He went to the competition, took literally 3/4 of the office with him.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to start from scratch. And my father said, "You could do it, man." He goes, "You can do it. I have faith in you." And I did it. And that next year, I was actually the manager of the year for the company. I recruited more agents into the office than anybody in the entire company and increased my profits more than anybody in the company. And I was the manager of the year in 1988.
Oh, my God.
It was an amazing time.
How old were you at the time? 1987.
Oh, my God.
When were you born?
I graduated high school, 1983.
Okay.
So I was like 24 years old.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
How important was it that your dad had faith in you?
It was very important.
That's big for a
It
parent.
was huge. I mean, at that point, he had put me in there with a co-manager because obviously they thought maybe I needed some help.
Yeah.
And then, right when we got started, he took off.
That is awesome. I think
It's terrifying, but I just did it.
sometimes you got to leap and net will appear, jump into the fire, and just make it happen.
That's what happened, man.
I think the greatest gift a parent could give to their kid is just confidence in them.
Agreed.
I think that is the most important thing.
I agree, 100%.
What was the lifestyle like in real estate back in the day?
Well, I mean, the lifestyle was a lot different than what it is right now.
Yeah.
They seem to have a lot more fun back then.
Yeah.
They had a lot more fun.
Yeah.
My father was an amazing man.
It sounds like it.
He was an amazing guy. He was full of personality.
Yep.
Had a lot of habits. Enjoyed nice clothes. Enjoyed fancy jewelry. Enjoyed fancy cars. Enjoyed elaborate vacations.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the reasons why I got into the business. Like I told you, I enjoyed watching him live.
Yeah.
But I also enjoyed the way my father, the way he lived his life. He was always home every night for dinner. Every night.
Wow.
He was always at the dinner table with the family.
Mm.
And he was always at my Little League practices or my Little League games. Or he never missed any of those. And I always admired the fact that my father had a job where he can actually break out and do these things and be there for the family. I thought that was awesome. To always see my father at all the games and stuff. It was that was probably one of the biggest driving forces, believe it or not, for me to get into the business or to like that business and want to follow in his career path.
No, I'm writing notes because
Yeah.
I remember coming out of a sophomore in college and I'm thinking, what do I want to do? And I ended up, working a year elsewhere, did a trading job and then came back. But I always knew I'd come back because my dad was at every baseball game, coached every single game.
Yeah.
Was at every field trip. He was on the parent teacher. He was a room dad. He was the only room dad there was. It was all moms minus my dad. So I felt the same way when you said that. I was like right away.
Yeah,
that's why I knew I was going to come back to the business. I just didn't know when.
No, it's great, Catano. I mean, that's very important in life. I mean, family is everything. And, and like I said, going back, I'm watching my father, going from that Boston Avenue, little efficiency apartment where I was born. And then we ended up moving to Nob Hill in Bridgeport off of East Main Street, and that's where I learned how to ride a bike. I was 5 or 6 years old in there when we lived in those apartments in Nob Hill behind Vinny's Pizza back there.
Yep.
And then my father ended up, we scaled up and we bought a house on Gorham Place right by the Trumbull Shopping Park behind the funeral parlor.
Yep.
And we lived there for a couple of years. Excuse me. And then we lived there for a couple of years. And then we moved to a house in Stratford on Judith Terrace. It was a raised ranch, and it had a nice yard and everything. So, and then we ended up coming into Trumbull when I was about 10 years old. But I watched my father, the cars always got nicer every year. The houses always got bigger every year. So I saw the potential that the business had to offer and how well it treated our family.
Yep. That is awesome. Yeah. I'm going to switch a little bit.
Sure.
Because you bring up family. Can you, who's in your family now? I want to hear about that. I think others would too appreciate. I know you have, you've had 4 kids. They're awesome. You have big family. You're at, Cross, we were just talking about. You went with him to a NCAA championship. He won a couple years ago. Yeah. So I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. So
and how you grew the business while having the family too.
And again, I tried to emulate my dad.
Yeah.
In a way, because I always wanted to be there for my family.
Yep.
I thought that was really important. So yeah, with Stephanie and I, we had our first son in 1991.
Yep.
My namesake, John Jr. And then we ended up having Kyle, 93, and then we had my son Cross in 97, and my daughter Nicole was born in the year 2000.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Were you home for dinner? Like, was that always really important? You're like,
I was always home for dinner. Yeah, we were always together as a family, very close. To me, that's very important.
Mm-hmm. Your kids love you, so that's something to be said. They always speak very highly of you, so that's awesome.
Thank you.
Now, in regards to you were working with your dad, you guys were at Elmer Crawl Real Estate. I want to hear a little bit about what happened that your dad went out on his own.
Okay. Well, what happened was my father and Elmer received a very large multi-million-dollar offer from Coldwell Banker to purchase their company. And it seemed as though my dad and Elmer were on the same page, and my dad and Elmer wanted to sell the company, but for whatever reason, Elmer decided not to sell the company.
And he had 51%. It was his decision.
51%, exactly. And he made the decision not to sell the company.
Yep.
So a couple of days later, my dad went into the office and literally handed in his letter of resignation. He resigned from the company. Now, here I am in Oxford, managing my own office, and my father ends up just resigning from the company.
Oh, my gosh.
I was like, Dad, what are you doing?
Yeah. Give me a heads up.
Yeah, and he didn't. So, and then him and my mom just took off. They went on a vacation. I was in the Oxford office as the manager. And I also had a 100-unit condominium project that was listed back in Seymour, a place called April Gardens, that was mine exclusively. So, he left the company. Here I am with 100 units, and I'm managing the office. So Mr. Craw called me up, and he had me down to his office. And, he said that he was just very upset about my dad. And that as far as I was concerned, it was business as usual, man. He was really proud of the job I was doing down there in Oxford. And as far as he was concerned, it was go back to work and do your thing. And I did. I went back to work, and it was a couple of weeks later, I got a phone call, and they ended up removing me as a manager. They figured that my dad was going to be opening up his own firm at some point, so they just kind of removed me as the manager. But as a courtesy to my dad, they left me out as a salesperson.
How long did that last?
About 2 more weeks. Because I said, well, if I'm not going to be the manager anymore, I might as well go down to the sales office at the condominiums and work out of the sales office.
Yep.
So I had the girl that I put there, I had her removed, and I sat in the sales office. And then a couple of weeks later, they came to the sales office, and they told me I was done. I was pretty much gone from the company. I was angry.
Yeah.
I had nowhere to go. My dad was in Italy. I had nowhere to go. I had nothing, so I was just sat back. I called my dad. I'm like, they just fired me. He's like, all right, well, take some time off, and when I get back, we'll open up our own company.
Wow. So he comes back from Italy.
Came back from Italy. We opened up Jay Cannone Real Estate.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you and your dad worked together for a few years.
Yeah. From like 89 to 90, 95, 96.
Awesome. Now you said it started off well, but you guys, did business different ways.
Yeah.
It's not always.
You're also going through good times. You're going through bad times. Business becomes stressful. It's tough. When you're working with family, it's difficult.
Yeah.
My son Cross is not working with me. He's got his license. He's 3rd generation.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to work with him. I'm trying to train him, and I'm not the best trainer there in the world. I really have that.
Yeah.
Nobody really besides John Cavalier, it was kind of like just go do it.
Yeah.
I never went on a listing presentation with my father ever. I never watched him give a presentation. I never watched him get a listing. In my whole life, never once. I watched him negotiate a couple of deals.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. It was a little different back then.
In early 90s was a tough time in the business, I think, too, right?
I would say there was a boom in 84.
Yep.
86 was the peak. 87 was a crash. 1990, 91 was a depression.
Yeah.
A lot of foreclosures.
Savings and loan crisis then?
Yeah, a lot of foreclosures. And back then there were no such thing as short sales either. You fell behind on your mortgage 3 months. You were getting a knock at the door. You were getting served foreclosure papers. There were tremendous amounts of foreclosures back then.
Wow.
Yeah, people were just losing their houses left and right.
Wow.
91, 92. Tough times, yeah.
And then, so 95, you leave. You go open your own business for 8 to 10 months, and then you join William Ravis.
Correct.
And you've been there now 25 years.
25 years. I just got 25 years, yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
What are you doing now for the future that you're focusing on? How are you going to, what's your game plan for helping more clients?
Well, as your career evolves, I would say one of the biggest regrets that I have in my business, my career, was that I was always a hit and run. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It was just doing a deal and going to the next deal and going to the next deal because, I'm just trying to earn as much as I can to support my family and to give us a better life. And I want to say like hit and run, you know what I mean? Just like sell the house and I'm on to the next, sell the house and I'm on to the next, where I really wish because when you're selling a house, I really become connected with the clients that I'm working with. I really do develop a relationship with these people because, while we're working together, we become very close. Mm-hmm. And then what happens is after the deal kind of closes, I kind of turned my back and I'm on to the next deal. I think my biggest regret was not really sitting back and smelling the roses and really nurturing and keeping those relationships with a lot of the people over the years. So one thing I'm trying to teach my son right now is, don't do like I did, because I was always like just hit and run. I'm always on to the next deal.
Yeah.
Where I really could have turned around and really sat there and really enjoyed the relationships that I was building with people. Because I'd be like, oh, I haven't talked to those people in 2 years,
Yeah.
And I was so close to them while we were doing the transaction.
Yep.
And that's probably one of my biggest regrets as far as the business goes, is, again, not maintaining those relationships from people that were just so wonderful.
I think if
Remember that too, Gaetano.
No, 100%. It's one of those things where, you want to. I was having this conversation yesterday. It's about, I love meeting people, talking to people, building relationships. Mortgages is just a way to do it for me. And I think, pouring into your past clients is not only a great way to find future opportunities to grow your business, but, you've already built that relationship. They already know, like, and trust you. And if you've built a good relationship, you should keep it going.
Right.
And one thing we're starting to do is trying to be thoughtful with, like, gifting, staying in front of people. How can we continue to see them? Parties, like client events, things like that.
100%.
That's something we're big on because, we like the people we work with.
And again, I noticed that you do that, and I admire that tremendously.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great way of doing business.
Thank you.
I wish I had done more of that.
I don't think it's too late, and you're definitely going to, I know you're starting now, or you're building on what you've done, but what I'm trying to say is to go back to clients you haven't talked to in 5-10 years.
Right.
And just say, hey, Mark, it's Jay over
Yeah.
at William Raves. I apologize for not doing a better job of staying in touch.
I've gone on listing presentations, and, halfway through the presentation or maybe an hour into it, the guy would look at me and says, you sold me this house.
Oh, my gosh.
25 years ago, you sold me this house. And I had no recollection.
Wow.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah. Do you have a list of all your past clients?
A lot of them. I wouldn't say all of them.
Yeah, so some definitely fall through the cracks.
Yes.
The good news is you can always start today.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I do have tremendous
Of
relationships
course.
with a lot of people that I've done
Yeah.
business
Oh,
with.
my
But
God.
again, I've sold thousands of homes.
I know. That's
So,
crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, well, a couple are going to slip through the cracks.
And they did.
Yeah.
did.
That's awesome. Well, I think going back and just even, touching base with some of those clients 10, 15, 20 years they haven't talked to, they would love to hear from you.
It'd be kind of cool to catch up with these people and see how their lives are going too and their families.
That would be awesome.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
I want to talk about a couple interesting deals that you've done.
Okay.
Do you have any stories that come to mind in regards to, I'd love to hear one about helping a client, navigate a difficult situation, and then maybe just an interesting story of deals, that.
Well, an interesting story would be, when I was younger,
Yeah.
I got a call to go. I was actually cold calling, and I got a lead,
Yeah.
and I went on a presentation with another one of our associates.
Yep.
And I ended up listing their home. And I got back to the office, and probably later on that evening, I got a phone call from his wife, and he said, listen, you're about the 7th person that my husband listed his house with this week. My husband is legally insane.
No way.
He had a habit of calling realtors to his house, listing his house with a realtor, and then,
Oh my gosh.
he was insane. The guy was literally legally insane.
Oh my.
Yeah. It was funny, though.
So what happened?
Well,
Did you sell the house?
No, I obviously didn't sell their house, but that was kind of a neat story.
That is so funny.
That was kind of funny. But as I'll tell you what I enjoy mostly now, as my career has evolved, helping people downsize now has been a big part of who I've become, and something that really I really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I watch the families come together, people that have been in their homes for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, believe it or not. And just trying to get those people to get out of their house, because not only is it, downsizing is true. It's the way to do business. It's not a way to do business. I'm just saying it's good for the homeowner, because although they're so deeply rooted, they can't navigate those stairs like they used to, man. It becomes dangerous to live in some of these houses that have all these stairs, and these people are in their 80s.
Yeah.
And, and they're paying big taxes on these houses. They're paying big utility bills and insurance bills, and they just don't need all this space. They're empty nesters. And just to watch some of their families come together and to really support their moms and dads, and to help them, start throwing things away and saving things and just uprooting the parents and putting them into an assisted living facility or a senior condo, 55 and over place. It's an amazing. I just really get a I get a great feeling when I help people like that. It's an amazing feeling helping people.
I can only imagine going back where you grew up. You know, for me, I've lived in the same house for 25 years.
Yeah.
I don't think my parents would ever sell it, but you never know. And in like, you know, in 20 years from now, going through that, all the memories, all the paintings, all the stuff that we've saved up over time.
Yeah, I've seen it all. I just recently, I mean, I stopped over a woman's house at like 7:00 at night, and she was in her garage all by herself, sitting on a chair, just holding on to a piece of memorabilia that, you know, that she was kind of going through, you know, maybe like a week or two before the closing. And I mean, it really touched me and how emotional these things are for people. It's a very emotional decision for these people. It's tough.
I just wrote down real estate is emotional.
Yeah.
And I was going to have you comment on that, but you just gave a great example.
Yeah, no, it's very emotional. And, you know, but at the end of the day, it takes these people so many years because it's such a tough decision to do it, to actually pull the trigger and to actually do it. And many people don't because it's a daunting, just to sit back and say, you know, I've got 55 years worth of stuff in this house, in my attic, in my basement, all this furniture. What am I going to do with it? I can't even climb the stairs. How am I going to get out of here? But the families do come together, and, you know, I'm always there to help as well. You know, I've got people to do everything for those. You know, I've got painters and movers and whatever they need. I've got all those people to help people. Yeah, but like I said, just to watch the families come together, it's an amazing experience. And people always say to me at the end of the day, once it's all over, they would look at me and say, you know, I wish I did this 5 or 10 years ago. I wish I did it 5 or 10 years ago.
Wow.
It's always a really good end result.
I think you brought up a good point that a lot of people see the big picture and they think, how am I going to tackle this huge, massive move?
Yeah.
And you do a good job. It sounds, you know, what you just told me there was breaking it down step by step.
Thank you.
And guiding you know,
you're taking it to bite-sized pieces.
100%.
Yeah. When you look at it as a whole, it becomes very
insurmountable.
It's intimidating.
Yeah.
But you just break it down. You take it step by step. And at the end of the day, it's a good end result.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It'd be good to hear some of your past clients that say that too, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, I wish I did this sooner.
Yeah.
Because I know there's so many people out there that probably are thinking the same thing of, I need to make this move. And they maybe think they can't do it for one reason, you know, emotions or the amount of stuff they have or where they're going to go. You know, hearing from people that have done it before, if you have a client, you know, an example of, you know, clients moving out that afterwards are so thankful or just relieved is probably the right word.
Big time. Like I said, it's very dangerous too. Now, some of these folks, you know, they're navigating these stairs daily, and, you know, one slip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to get into, I was reading, I was listening to Peter Attia. He's a health and professor or something like that. And he said, if you get into your older age, I think when you're above 65, if you were to break a hip or I think it was a hip, your mortality rate, like 10X's.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
It's very dangerous. So it's good to know.
That is very dangerous.
Not that we were getting on the podcast to talk about that, but it came up. There was another interesting example about somebody with outdoor furniture and a Swifter.
Yeah, we were doing a deal in Westport, and when I went to this woman's house, I had noticed that she had actually taken her lounge chair from her patio furniture from her back deck, and she literally put that in her kitchen between the island and her cabinets, and that's where she was sleeping at night because she was afraid to walk up the stairs because she had a tough time navigating the stairs. She was actually sleeping in the kitchen on an outdoor piece of furniture between the island and the cabinets. And she was using the downstairs bathroom. It was only half a bathroom to brush her teeth and things like that. So, I mean, it was really eye-opening. I said, you've got to go now. It's time for you to leave. And I ended up calling her son in New Jersey, and I said, Mitch, you have to get your mom out of here now. It's time for her to go. This is not a good situation here.
Wow. I think I don't know, I've never been there, but a lot of older people probably have a tough time making that call to their kids and letting them know that, but they could reach out. You would, I mean.
All the time. I talk to kids all the time, family members, constantly. Yeah. Because when I evaluate a situation and it's bad, like that one was, you know, I get very concerned. And I do reach out to some of the family members.
Yeah.
Tell them what's going on because they're really proud. They're proud people and they don't want to, they don't want to tell the truth of what's really going on. It's scary. Scary.
It sounds like it.
It's scary, but it all works out though, man.
That's awesome. That
works
does.
out.
Yeah.
I've always been a student of learning, like you too, Gaetano. When I would first started in the business, I was into like these sales gurus like Tom Ferry and Tom Hopkins or Anthony Robbins and Jim Rohn and all these sales trainers. Floyd Wickman, Dale Carnegie. I took a little big Dale Carnegie course when I first got into the business when I was 19 years old. Just learn how to speak to people better and how to remember names.
Yeah.
And things like that, yeah. But
Dale
I was always a student of learning.
Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I have the book.
Is such a good book.
Yeah, and I took the course. That was the name of the course I took back then.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good book to reread once a year.
Right.
For anybody, just to refresh and remember a lot of things.
Agreed. Speaking of books.
Jay came in today with with an awesome book. Now, we're going to show the book in a sec, but let's hear the story because Jay's featured in a book that he didn't even know about. So let's hear the backstory to that.
Yeah, so like I was telling you guys before, I was in my office one day and I one of my coworkers came over and congratulated me for being in a book. I had no idea what he was talking about. And he ended up telling me that I was being featured in a book called Guerrilla Marketing by an author named Jay Levinson, who anybody who's into marketing knows about Jay Levinson. He's like he's a staple in anybody's library who collects marketing books. But I guess back in the 70s, it came out with a book called Guerrilla Marketing. And then I want to say around the year 2000, he came out with another book called Guerrilla Marketing in 30 Days. And I'll show you the book. Here it is. But if you open it up to Guerrilla Marketing in 30 Days, you can go to Barnes and Noble. Yeah, so the person told me that I was in this book, and I opened it up to page, what was that, Gaetano?
Page 157, day 17 in the book. It's a whole chapter on direct mail, and it starts off, Jay Cannone, a real estate agent in the northeastern United States. That is so, and you didn't even know you were in this.
I had no idea. Like I said, I went to Barnes & Noble, I bought the book, and I was like, wow. So I tried to reach out to this author, Jay Levinson, and I ended up getting him via email, and he sent me a signed copy of the book, and he must have seen me speak somewhere. Because in the year 2005, I was at the National Association of Realtors conference in San Francisco, and I was on stage and I was giving a speech about how to build $1 million a year real estate business and still have a life was the topic of our speech. And I think he may have been there and been in the audience and he took notes because a lot of what he says about me in that particular chapter was things that I had spoken about during a couple of my onstage speeches.
Yep.
But yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. He ended up signing the book for me. He said to one of my favorite gorillas, best of luck.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was kind of neat.
Reading this,
it's a national bestseller.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
These principles, though, still apply today. Everything I'm reading, benefits sell. So don't sell the product, sell the benefits.
Of course.
Everything here is just like spot on. I would actually recommend agents to read this. This is a great chapter.
No doubt.
I'm going to be sharing this, definitely.
I've read it a bunch of times. It's a great book.
Oh, everything.
Especially about chapter
one. Do you get any royalties?
Yeah, no royalties. Didn't even know I was in the book.
Yeah.
But,
God damn it, Jay.
I know,
Levinson.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Now, I want to hear about a deal that I thought was a great story.
You got it.
Because it might be newer agents might learn something from it, but also it'll teach people how to handle opportunities in the future. Chestnut Hill?
Yeah. So I was in the Oxford office that time, and I just opened the office, and I was building the office, and I had an opportunity to
really quick. You're about just to give you're 24-ish years old at the time. So
yeah, I was a young guy. Yeah, I was about 24 years old. I had an opportunity to buy a piece of property. It was a house with I think 12 acres of land.
Mm-hmm.
And back then I could have bought the whole piece for $250,000, and there was no road required. I could have had 3 road frontage lots plus the house plus 2 interior lots, and I wanted to buy the property because I wanted to subdivide it and I wanted to sell off the lots.
Yep.
So I called my father And I said, Pop, I got a deal. I want to buy a piece of property. My father said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to subdivide the property and I want to sell it off. And I think we can make a big profit. So my father said, well, son, you just opened up that office. What do you want to do in your career? Do you want to be a developer, a speculator, or do you want to be a realtor? Like, what do you want to do? Because, here you are, you just opened up your office out there, and I don't know if it's a good idea to give off the impression that you're out there looking to wheel and deal and make deals. You're out there to help people buy and sell homes. So what do you want to do? Do you want to be an investor, speculator, or do you want to be a realtor? What do you want to do? So back then I thought about it, and I chose to be a realtor. I chose to be a realtor because I'm not saying that, it's a wonderful thing to buy and hold property. It's great to buy a piece of income producing property and just kind of put buy one a year and put it in the bank. And just, that's
set it and forget it.
That's exactly, that's what, that's the way it should be done. But back in the day, my father didn't think it was a good idea that I speculate. And I still I'm still happy about that decision I made. Because I think, you can only do one thing and do it great. It's hard to spread yourself too thin.
I agree with that, because if you're working as an agent in a market, but you're also buying property in that market, a lot of people are going to question, where's this person's motive?
Right.
If they're not buying the deal, why are they showing it to me?
Yeah.
I think you're spot on with that.
Yeah.
Let's unpack that chestnut deal. What happened after that, though?
What do you mean? Oh, well, you really want me to get into that?
We want to get into the details.
Well, I called a friend of mine to buy the property, of course, and his idea was that he wanted to buy the property and he was going to subdivide the property and he was going to, give me the listings on everything. And that was the plan. And I had told him that if he had any problem at all getting the financing, to give me a call. And, sure enough, maybe about a week or two before the closing, and I hadn't heard from him, I gave him a call. And I said, hey, how are things going? And he said, I had a problem. I said, what kind of a problem? Well, I had a problem getting the money. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, I sold the property to my uncle. Sold the property to your uncle? He goes, yeah, because at the last minute I just needed money for the deal. I couldn't do it, so my uncle stepped in and I sold it to him. I go, what kind of a profit did you make?
He was buying it for $250?
He was buying it for $250 and he sold it to his uncle for $325.
Oh my gosh! So he made $75,000.
He made $75,000.
The deal with you, so he was going to buy it for $250.
Correct.
Subdivide it and then sell off all the pieces.
I was going to get the 6 lots plus the house to sell. He ended up selling it to his uncle, made a $75,000 profit. His uncle took the property, subdivided it, and gave it to another realtor to sell.
Wow.
So he called and said, hey, you mind if I drop a little envelope with a couple of $1,000s off to your house? And I said, listen, keep the money.
Yeah. In a nice way to say it.
A very nice way to say it, yeah. But yeah, that was
a learning experience.
I guess maybe you're supposed to get it in writing.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, let's pull a learning experience out of that. If you had, in the future, you would have said, if you're talking across, something like that comes up, get it in writing.
No doubt, 100%.
So that was all done word of mouth, on a handshake
agreement.
It
was a friendship kind of a deal, and again, I'm a very I trust a lot of people.
Yeah,
to a fault, and sometimes you learn the hard way.
You won't make that mistake again.
No, you won't.
Yeah,
no, you won't. You won't. But it's been a long career. It's been 38 years now. I've been selling real estate. It's been a long time. Time flies, man.
Oh my gosh, it does.
It really does fly, yeah. And like we were talking about before, my son Cross, in 2018, he went out to Iowa. He was a wrestler. He became his high school all-time wins leader and state champion, and went on to become a national champion in Iowa. He won the NCAA national championship in 2018. It was an amazing time in my life. It really was probably one of the greatest times up to today. I mean, it was a great time in my life. I literally was out in the Midwest almost every single weekend. I hardly ever missed any of his matches. I would fly to the Midwest every single weekend for 4 years to watch him wrestle. It was amazing. And then he was a 3-time All-American. Came in second, first, and third in the nation. Had a 64-match winning streak. Really a storied career. It was amazing. And now he's taken that work ethic, because to be the best in the country at something took a lot of work, and it became his life. I know what it took to become the best in the country. It was an amazing achievement that he had done. He was so focused, and now he's taken that work ethic and he's putting it into the real estate business. So he's turning his focus into something else now, but he's working just as hard, mentally and physically. He's working at it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. It's amazing. And my other son, Kyle,
Recently graduated.
He just graduated with his JD. So he's going to be he's taking his bar exam on July 27th, and he's going to be an attorney. He has political aspirations. He wants to get into politics, and he did some internships over at the state attorney's office in the federal courthouse down in Bridgeport. He wants to do some defense work, defense litigation, and we're really proud of him. He's a kid that he had a lot of patience and a lot of perseverance. He's really worked his ass off to get what he wanted, man. It was amazing to watch him just go for it, and with all the setbacks. And he went to Dayton school, and he didn't like it in Dayton. He came home and kind of wanted to get his LSAT scores up, and just really was focused and driven to get the scores up to where he can get into the school he wanted to, and ended up graduating. And now he's moving full steam ahead, man. It's awesome.
That's awesome. Kyle went to St. Joe's in Trumbull, right?
Went to St. Joe's, yeah. He went to St. Joe's. He went to all Catholic schools. He went to St. Catherine's.
All your kids went to St. Catherine's, right?
Correct.
Awesome.
St. Catherine's, and the other kids went to Trumbull High, but Kyle went to St. Joe's, went to Catholic University of America in D.C. for his bachelor's, and then went to Quinnipiac for his JD.
That is awesome.
Yeah. And my daughter, Nicole, of course, you know, she loves to sing, and and she loves to be on Instagram and she's TikTok and all that kind of stuff. And
which is funny because she's doing a really good job of building a personal brand.
No doubt. 100%.
And she might have been reading your book to get there. Doesn't fall far from the tree.
No, it doesn't. We're really proud of her. She's in Nashville right now. She's having some fun. She was at a studio recording with her producer in Nashville. She has a couple of solo songs out on Apple Music and Spotify and all that stuff. You could watch her by Googling Nicole Cannone or whatever.
That is awesome.
Look her up. Yeah, she's a great singer, and she's a wonderful person. She helps me in my business too.
Oh, yeah, all the video marketing.
Yeah, really proud of her.
That's awesome.
It was really cool. I mean, I had my oldest son, John, he suffered from drug addiction. He suffered for about 12 years. We tried to keep him alive, but about 2 years and 5 months ago, he passed away from a drug overdose, fentanyl. And it was just so sad to go through that, very heart-wrenching. It was just the worst thing that could ever happen to a parent. But he battled addiction for 12 years. I tried everything I could. I took him to every rehab and psychologists and psychiatrists, everybody known to man. He went to 5 rehabs, but at the end of the day, that stuff just gets into your soul. And it takes over you. It takes you over. It's a really bad thing. So, so I mean, I'm gonna dedicate a lot of the rest of my life to helping people try to overcome addiction. I know a lot about addiction. My family has lived with it for many years. Watching John try to get through it, and it was So I'm gonna try to help people, and maybe. But the one thing about addiction is that you've gotta want to try to get better. You've got to a little bit try to let people in order to because that stuff gets into your soul, and it's a very, very tough thing to beat. Very tough thing to beat.
There's a lot of people.
John was very talented. I mean, John was a national power lifter. He won some national competitions 2 months before he passed. He won a competition in Long Island, powerlifting, and he worked at LA Fitness up until the day he passed. I mean, he was a functioning addict. It was a real shame. A lot of talent. He was a piano player, songwriter. He would pick up the guitar. He never even took a guitar lesson and just sit there and play a Stairway to Heaven song. Just an amazing rendition of it.
There's a video of him playing Stairway to Heaven that I want to say one of my friends I grew up with, Tom Nolan, I remember him showing it to me. And I was like, I'll try and get it for you.
Really? I'd love to see that because I remember him playing it in the house. I'd listen to it and I'd be like, John, that was amazing.
Yeah. We hopped on to talk real estate, but the personal side of it too. 12 years, real estate wasn't the first thing for you. Your family was in helping John.
I dedicated my life to trying to keep him alive and to try to help him get better. That was what my life was. Yeah. And real estate too, of course. I had to do that, but I was completely focused on trying to help him get better.
Yeah.
But
do you have any plans of what you're going to be doing in the future, maybe?
Well, in regards to that too, I'll tell you something that when John passed away, the people that I had so many people reach out to me, and so many people commented on John's Facebook and my Facebook on how much John had affected and changed their lives and how he affected their life, whether it be through his music, his songwriting, his weightlifting, his powerlifting. I guess John touched a lot of lives. And, you know, as a parent, when you're watching your son go through this addiction, and it's hard to see these things. But I say to myself, you know, would it have made a difference if John had known how much people loved him and how much he had changed their lives, people's lives? Would it have made a difference at the end of the day if he had known that he was touching so many people's lives? And then I say to myself, no, because the addiction is so powerful that it doesn't, it takes over who you are, who you become, and nothing else matters but the drug, unfortunately. So what I tell people now is that people that have affected your life in a positive way, you know, you should really thank these people as much as you can, and make sure that they know that, you know, they've affected your life, you know, in a positive way, and you know, whether they mentored you or however they've touched your lives. And remember to tell the people that you love, you know, how much you love them, because tomorrow's not guaranteed, you know. And yeah, so anyway, so much for that, you know. But it was a learning experience.
That's great
to say
advice.
the least, you know. But tell those you love that you love them, and tell those who affected your life, you know, how much you appreciate it while they're alive.
Yeah,
you know, while they're still here.
You always hear it after people pass.
And that's exactly. Yeah. And that was the sad thing, is like I said, when John passed, you know, all those people were pouring in with all this stuff, and I'm like, boy, I wish he had known that when he was alive.
Do you have any advice for parents dealing with kids with addiction?
Well, the advice that I would say is, I mean, it's a very personal thing, because, you know, some people would have said, you know, you kick your son out of the house, kick him to the curb, you know, let him hit rock bottom. But I never wanted to do that. I couldn't kick my son out to the curb.
Easier said than done.
Oh, it's way easier said than done. I just, you know, I was worried, you know, every night I was, you know, trying to make sure my son was still breathing in his bed, you know, putting my ear up to his door every night, you know, just listen to us, see, make sure he's breathing, you know. But you just have to instill these things and just hope that they make the right decisions. You know, John obviously, you know, made a right when he should have made a left at some point, you know, when he was in high school. I think it all has to do with, you know, people that you're hanging out with, your environment, things of that nature, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough situation.
It's like right now, just talking about it, it's like I'm breathing heavy. Yeah, it's like it's not
everybody, like I said, everybody that I talk to knows somebody who's been affected by addiction. You know, whether it's, you know, opiates or whether it's alcohol, somebody knows somebody who either passed away or that's suffering from addiction right now.
I want to talk again. We didn't hop on to talk about this, but
no, man.
Yeah, it is. It's real life.
Yeah, sure is.
You brought up a good point when we had lunch. You were talking about how it didn't start with fentanyl or heroin. No. It starts at a high school party.
No doubt.
Or maybe he got injured and he took, you know, Oxycontin or something.
Yeah,
like
you know, Percocet.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, John graduated high school, I think in 2009, and it seemed as though a lot of people that graduated with him that year are dead now. It was a prevalent thing back then. I mean, it still is very prevalent, but back then it was like,
yeah, big.
They'd go to parties and there would be bowls full of pills.
Yeah.
You know, they'd raid their parents' medicine cabinets and things. But, yeah, I mean, that's one bit of advice, is don't put medication, you know, lock it up in a safe or something of that nature.
Yeah.
One more thing I wanted to mention is that, you know, back in the day when I lived in a 5-room house. When I started in this real estate business, you know, I bought a house.
Not 5-bedroom, by the way.
No, 5 rooms.
Yes.
My house was 1,100 square feet. I had 5 rooms, 3 bedrooms, and 1 bath, and a 1-car garage on 1/3 of an acre.
With 6 people in the house.
And my wife and I had all 4 of our children born in that house. And in the year 2000, and I told my wife back then, I said, this is temporary. It won't last forever. And I promise you, we're gonna have some bathrooms soon, and we're gonna have our own garage, and we made some moves and things have worked out where now I live in an 8,000 square foot house, and we have 8 bathrooms, and I have 3 acres of land, and we have a 3-car garage and a tennis court, and so we've come a long way from that 1,100 square foot house that I started when I first started this business.
That is awesome. Promise you made a long time ago.
Promise I made. I said, well, we're just gonna have our own bathrooms, and sure enough, we all do have our own bathrooms now.
What do you attribute that to? The success of getting there?
I want to say it's patience and perseverance, and just never giving up, and always going forward, always moving forward, no matter what, whatever knocks you back, man. You just got to continue to move forward,
Momentum's a powerful thing.
And you're going to have setbacks in your life, man. Life is not perfect, whether it's with your wife or your kids or your job or something in life, something. But you just always got to keep that attitude, and you just got to continue to move forward. And that's something that I kind of pride myself on, is the fact that with all the setbacks I've had in my life, I've continued to move forward.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
This was an awesome time today.
It was great, man. It's great. It's always great seeing you, my friend.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
I
thank you.
Of course. This was great. I just enjoyed talking. You have a lot of knowledge, a lot of experiences that you've been through. So just sharing those with me, and now luckily other people too.
Yeah.
They're going to appreciate it. I would love to get maybe a quick update on just where things stand right now in regards to the market. It could be a minute, just like what you're seeing.
Absolutely,
yeah.
man. So like I said, since the last few years with that COVID, this real estate market, I mean, Connecticut in particular, over the, I would say from 2008 until maybe 2018 was very stagnant.
Yeah.
The real estate market was very stagnant. There wasn't, it was very difficult for builders to get construction mortgages. There wasn't any construction going on, new construction for housing. And properties were not appreciating the way they were, or normally should be. Historically, houses appreciated about 3 to 3.5% per year annually. And, like I said, for about 10 years, there was really nothing going on. And then all of a sudden, when COVID hit, it caught fire. And we had a lot of people migrating into Connecticut, from Manhattan, from the cities. Everything was turned upside down.
Yep.
Interest rates went down to about 2.5%, and everybody and their mother was refinancing, and property values were exploding, right? With the interest rate, with the combination of the interest rates, the lack of inventory, as well as the migrating from people coming from out of state into the burbs, just drove prices right through the ceiling. And I think properties have appreciated about 35% over the past 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And right now we're still having that same problem right now. Even though that the interest rates are still around 6% right now, we still have a lack of inventory, and I'm still putting properties on the market, and I'm still getting multiple offers, and we're still getting way over asking. As a matter of fact, last week I sold 2 homes. One of them was listed for $499, sold it for $575, and the other one was listed for $629, sold it for $725.
Oh my gosh.
And we had multiple offers on each one of these properties, and this story is consistent throughout the market right now.
I saw from April 2019 to April 23, inventory's down 78% in the Bridgeport Metro.
Agreed.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, sales right now are down about 40% in my town, just volume and number of sales.
You focus on Trumbull. Your business is...
That's my hometown.
Yeah, I mean, you do all Fairfield County.
Yeah, of course.
But like Trumbull,
I know every tree in Trumbull.
That's
yeah.
Literally every tree in Trumbull. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Every house gets a postcard, I feel like. I've been getting them for years.
And they do.
Yeah, that's so funny. And, the house on, I don't know if I can give a name, but in Tashua area, that was the one that sold for $100K over. I couldn't believe it.
over asking. Yeah, wow. Literally in one day, we had multiple offers.
What
the funny thing about that is that I thought I listed it for a high price at $629. I wanted it listed at $599.
Oh my gosh.
Me and the home seller discussed it, and we settled on $629, but I was like, oh gosh,
Yeah.
So sometimes even myself, I get fooled.
Yeah.
The market's crazy. I mean, you don't know what somebody's willing to pay for a property.
Wow. So, thinking of, we talked about earlier, older people who are thinking about making the move and downsizing, now is probably not a bad time. It's a great time if you're going to be going south. If you're going to Carolinas or Florida, it's a phenomenal time. The question becomes, what do you do if you're going to stay local and you don't have somewhere to go? That's a question.
That's the other thing is people are saying, yeah, if I sell, where am I going to go? And all things are relative. You sell high, you buy high. But like I said, like you said, going down south, retiring, it's a great time to do that. And some people just have to sell their homes. And, if you want to get into a bidding war, you want to get over asking, maybe now's the time to do it.
Yeah. You could have sellers even sell their home with suitable, finding a new place or suitable housing or something, right?
Well, there's a few ways I handle that. We could put your house on the market contingent upon the seller finding suitable housing.
Yep.
Or I ask for an extended closing.
Mm-hmm.
I may ask for a 3 or a 4 month closing.
Yep.
Or B, we can have a closing in 60 or 90 days and then have the home seller rent it back from the new buyer for a couple of months until they find suitable housing. There's a couple of ways to handle that.
That last one's not a bad idea. Renting it, sell it, and rent
Sell
it back.
And then they rent it back for a couple of months.
Gives them time to find something.
And they have all their cash on hand too.
Yeah, to go and buy something new.
Exactly.
Be more competitive.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited.
It's cool, man.
It's going to be a good couple years. Yeah.
It is.
I think the business is peak and valley. And right now we're definitely closer to a valley, I think, in regards to transactions and volume. Prices are through the roof. But every valley, it eventually turns around.
It's a market.
Yeah.
Markets go up and down.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
But the prices have been going up. But it's not true throughout the entire country. There's pockets in this country right now that are depreciating, that are stagnant, that aren't moving. I mean, I was talking to my uncle out in Seattle, Washington, and he was telling me that the market's depreciated by almost 35-40%. It's gone down in the past year and a half.
Wow.
So there are parts of this country that are on fire, and there's parts of the country that are not on fire.
You bring up a good point. Connecticut specifically, locally around us, we've been underbuilt since 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
So supply has been down, and that's the story we're seeing today. But if you go to Reno, Nevada, or Phoenix, there's an oversupply there. So when you read a national headline, you'll see supply's up 40% year over year. You have to talk to a local expert, though.
That's what I was saying, too, is that, because it was stagnant, now there's like a glut of it. I mean, there's a lot of new construction being built right now because it was so pent up. It was being, pent up from being stagnant for so long. So there's a lot of factors.
I think interest rates being, you have like 75% of all homeowners have an interest rate below 4%.
Right.
It's tough for them to leave their home to go buy a bigger home at a higher price.
Hang on to those houses as an investment and then purchase something else.
I love that idea. You can have
some equity out.
Yep. Ton of opportunities for a homeowner to take a home equity line of credit and then turn that house into a rental and go buy a new one.
100%. No doubt.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It's a wonderful business.
Mm-hmm.
My father always said it was a very easy business. If there was a business that was any easier, he'd be doing it.
That's so funny.
It's just, but you just got to be you've got to be very dedicated. You got to be focused. You've got to be consistent, like anything.
You
just have to be just really committed.
I admire that about you.
Thank you.
A deal in Trumbull, you got a call how long ago?
I got a call about maybe a month and a half ago.
Yep.
This story really touched my heart because I got a call from this older lady's son who lived in Boston. And I had a condominium listed at the Long Hill Village, which is an elderly community.
Yep. In Trumbull near Town Hall.
Correct.
Yep.
In Trumbull near the Town Hall. And he called me up because I had a condo listed, and he said that he wanted to, he asked if it was still available, and I said, yes, it was. He said, okay, because I came to your open house yesterday, and I ran through it really, really quick, and I'd like to buy it for my mom. She doesn't know it yet, though. So he literally bought he's fortunate enough where he can afford. He bought the condominium cash without even telling his mom at this point, bought it for her, then called me, and I went and talked to his mom, and then we kind of told his mom what was going on. We filled her in. She's 89 years old, and she really is struggling with the stairs, and she's on a walker, and it was a split level home, so there were 8 stairs on this level and another 8 stairs on the other level, and it was just, and she was managing, but it was a very dangerous situation.
Eventually,
no doubt. So we ended up getting her house on the market, and that was the one I listed for $629.9, and we broke it down into little bite-sized pieces because the woman was she didn't want to go. She did not want to leave her house. No way. And like I said, I brought in my crew, and we decluttered the house, and we ended up painting some certain things. We got the house in show condition.
Yep. So you're going to declutter the home.
Decluttered the home.
Paint it.
We painted it.
Did you stage it, or you didn't have to?
Sometimes I'll have people, in order to modernize a little bit, we'll put some new countertops on, maybe update the appliances. just do a little bit of modernization, paint the house,
Yep.
just to try to maximize the home's value.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that's my goal. I mean, my goal in any sale is to help those folks get the most money we can for their property.
Yep.
That's really my main intention there,
Yeah.
is to get it done, get them the most money we can. And so Craig went out and he went and furnished the condominium, and he brought his mom over to a finished product. Put new countertops and quartz countertops on, and it was just a very an amazing and a very touching day when she went over to see her new condo and how much they love it. And how they've met all these new neighbors and friends now that live there, all these older people that are coming over to introduce themselves, and all the friends they've made at the Long Hill Village, and how they just,
Oh my God.
it's like a whole new lease on life. They absolutely love it.
You said this was going on for a few years. She was thinking about selling.
Oh, it was going on for about 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, but she couldn't pull the trigger because, like I said, that thought of the moving was just daunting.
Yeah.
But we did it because her whole family came together. She had 3 sons and a daughter, and they all came together. And they all kind of put in their 2 cents, and we got it done.
What an awesome opportunity, because Saxony's probably an acre or so, like that area is like
Yes.
bigger lots, and your neighbors are far away. To go from that 89 to now community-based living, Long Hill Village,
Right.
where you go from seeing maybe 3 people a day in Saxony to 30.
Right.
Awesome.
She says it's amazing. I mean, just the fact that she gets out of bed and she walks 5 feet to her bathroom was just, and then staying on the same level for her laundry and her kitchen.
Yep.
She just thinks she's in heaven. I was like, amazing, amazing. Yeah.
That's a great story to
It
end
was
on.
just, it really is great. And I love that story. And I just, I really enjoy that part of the business tremendously.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What's the best place for people to reach you?
You could reach me a couple of different ways. I mean, my cell phone is 203-209-2529. And you can obviously call me anytime or text me at that number,
Yep.
209-2529, 203-209-2529.
Awesome.
Or you can email me at jay@jaycannone.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Or stop by your house.
Or step by my house. I got a bathroom for you to use.
And maybe a bedroom.
In a bedroom. If you
And a
decide
tennis
we
court.
can play some tennis, whatever you want.
That's awesome.
I'm getting ready to downsize pretty soon.
If anybody's looking to buy a home in Trumbull, you might want to reach out to Jay
need a
for his.
bathroom?
Yeah. Awesome. They need 8 kids to live in your house.
Yeah, it's a big house.
8,000 square feet, you said?
Yeah. Wow. Big place.
Yeah.
We got plenty of room now.
Yeah.
Went from one extreme to the other,
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was
Thank you,
awesome,
Gaetano.
and we'll be doing it again soon.
Thanks, man.
Phenomenal. This was a blast, man.